Rejected dog at auction is bought by a young man, and what happens next moves everyone. The dog auction in New York attracted a large number of participants. The atmosphere was lively, with people chatting and debating about the dogs they wanted to own. Large, strong dogs with shiny coats and impressive appearances were brought up one by one. Each time a beautiful dog appeared, the sound of applause echoed. The auctioneer raised the price to astronomical heights, and everyone focused intently on the bidding. But among those top-tier dogs, a small dog named Max was quietly overlooked. Max had almost no fur left, his skin covered in scars, and his eyes were red and tired from lack of sleep. He looked very weak, and his health was clearly poor. He stood still in one place, too scared to move, his eyes filled with confusion as he gazed at the crowd. The auction participants looked at him coldly, and no one wanted to spend money on such a frail dog. Max lowered his head, panting, his eyes full of fear. He could clearly sense that he was worthless in this world. All the gazes of the participants turned away. No one looked at him again. Max didn't understand what was happening, but he knew he would be abandoned once more, as he had been many times before. The auctioneer held the microphone, glanced at Max, and passed over him as if he were an insignificant object. He was preparing to announce the end of the auction. But suddenly, something changed. The entire room fell silent, and the atmosphere became tense. All the participants turned back, curious to see the man standing up in the corner of the room. Max stood there, unaware that his life was about to take a new turn. No one knew that his fate would no longer be filled with long days of loneliness, rejection, and being forgotten. Max's story was not over yet. When Max's name was called, a strange silence fell over the room. All eyes were focused on the poor little dog, but no one seemed interested. Every participant in the auction was focused on the dogs with beautiful appearances, good health, and high potential for profit. Max stood there, alone among all the perfect dogs. Max lowered his head, his red eyes too scared to meet anyone's gaze. His sparse fur, thin and frail body, made the little dog look as if he had just fought an unequal battle with life itself. The participants began to murmur and exchange remarks with sneering laughter, implying that this dog would do nothing but take up space. Some even shook their heads and whispered, "This dog has no value." Max could clearly feel the coldness in everyone's eyes. He didn't understand why things were this way, but he felt like he was just an unwanted object, no different from a worthless item. The atmosphere in the room became suffocating, and the applause and laughter that had filled the space earlier had completely disappeared. The auctioneer looked discouraged and was preparing to announce the end of the auction. But just before he could do that, Max lowered his head, then lifted his face to look toward the door, where faint rays of light shone through. Only Max knew that, perhaps, his life would be abandoned once again, one more time. The auction room seemed to have turned its back on him, and in that moment, who would have thought that a miracle was about to happen? The little dog, rejected and forgotten, still stood there, while his fate seemed already sealed. But would Max really be abandoned forever? The answer was only just beginning. As the auction was nearing its end, no one seemed willing to spend a penny to own Max. The little dog, weak and with a poor appearance, was nothing more than a shadow amidst the crowd of strong, beautiful dogs. All the attention was focused on the sought-after animals, while Max seemed to have been forgotten. Whispers filled the air. Many people began to turn away, except for one. As the atmosphere became heavy and the auctioneer was preparing to close the auction, a figure suddenly stood up. It was a young man, dressed simply, unlike the other wealthy and sophisticated participants. He didn't have an elegant appearance, but his eyes shone strangely, as if he had found something valuable among all the overlooked things. Everyone turned to look at him with strange expressions, many shaking their heads in disbelief. They couldn't understand why someone like him would be interested in such a frail dog like Max. Some even whispered deliberately, "He won't get far with that dog." But the man, unfazed, stood firm. The auctioneer looked at him and began the procedure to confirm the bid. Then this man, with a calm voice, unexpectedly made a bid not high, but enough to grab everyone's attention. It was a very low price, just a small number compared to the other dogs. Everyone in the room was surprised. They began to talk, some questioning, some sneering, but no one dared to stop him. Although the price wasn't high, the determination in his eyes made no one dare criticize him further. This man, Alex, stood there, looking at Max with eyes that held no judgment, only compassion and hope. To Alex, Max was not just a dog, but a life that needed a chance, a life that required the love and care it had long been deprived of. He felt that Max deserved a chance, no matter what his appearance or health was like. When the auction ended, Max was led off the stage, but not by those who wanted to sell him for profit, but by a man with a strange and unexpected decision. Max's eyes, though still filled with confusion, held a faint glimmer as he looked at Alex. It was a weak light, but one filled with a strange hope. Everyone in the room was surprised, wondering if this decision was foolishness or if Alex had truly seen something that no one else could. They didn't know that, from that moment on, Max's life would no longer be filled with loneliness and rejection. And no one knew that, in the future, the bond between Alex and Max would create a miracle no one expected. When Alex brought Max home, he could not imagine how much his life would change. Max, the small, weak dog, was no different from a creature abandoned, lonely, and full of fear. He had lost faith in humans, and Alex understood that he could not rush to change everything. Max needed time, and the most important thing was his patience. From the very first day, Max could not accept Alex's attention. The dog would curl up in a dark corner of the room, eyes distant, avoiding any contact. Alex tried to approach, but Max always backed away, avoiding him. Every time Alex came near, Max would look at him with eyes full of worry and doubt. It seemed like every memory from the past had made the dog fearful, and he could not trust anyone, even the person trying to bring him love and care. But Alex didn't give up. Every day, he spent time sitting quietly next to Max, saying nothing, just letting the dog feel his presence. He didn't force Max to interact, but simply sat still, allowing Max to get used to the new environment. In the mornings, Alex prepared delicious meals for Max, but the dog was not interested. At night, Alex slept next to Max, just to make the room feel less cold and lonely. A week passed, and Max kept to his old habits, lying still, refusing to eat, and always looking at Alex with a suspicious gaze. But strangely enough, every time Alex left, Max would wait. Though he didn't say it, his eyes had begun to change. He no longer looked at Alex with a stranger's gaze, but with a hint of curiosity. One afternoon, as Alex sat down near Max, he gently reached out to pet the dog. For the first time, Max didn't pull away. He looked up at Alex, his eyes sparkling with a little hope. At that moment, Alex realized that, although Max had not fully trusted him, at least he had begun to recognize that someone truly cared for him. Their bond wasn't something that could form immediately, but it was a long process. However, Alex felt that he had crossed an important threshold. Every day, although Max had not fully opened up, these small changes made Alex more determined. He knew that as long as Max gradually felt safe and loved, one day their friendship would truly form. The story of Alex's love and patience with Max had only just begun. One day, when Alex went to work, everything seemed normal, just like every other day. But when he came back home in the afternoon, something unexpected happened. Max, the dog he had poured so much effort into, was lying curled up on the bed, trembling all over. Max's eyes were tightly shut, and his body was burning hot, seemingly unable to move anymore. Alex panicked. His heart tightened when he saw Max in this condition. He quickly scooped the dog up into his arms, but Max could only breathe weakly. Max's body was soaked in sweat, and every time he tried to move, his body shook with spasms. Alex immediately rushed Max outside, trying to drive to the nearest veterinarian, his hands trembling uncontrollably. His heart pounded as if every second that passed was a huge challenge. When they arrived at the veterinary clinic, Alex felt like time stood still. The vet took Max in and began examining him. Alex stood outside, watching through the window with worried eyes, his hands tightly clenched. He couldn't understand what was happening to Max. The little weak dog he had brought home from the auction now seemed to be facing something too big for him. After what seemed like an eternity, the vet came back with a serious expression. Alex could feel that something was wrong. The vet announced that Max had contracted a severe illness, and his condition was very critical. Max's body was too weak, and his internal organs were almost beyond repair. Although the vet could administer a sedative to ease his pain, there was no way to save him. The vet's words were like a powerful shock. Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had watched Max go from an abandoned, weak dog with no hope to a friend he loved unconditionally. Now, could he let Max go in this pain? The vet's words echoed in his head, and it seemed like there was no way to change the outcome. But Alex refused to give up. In his heart, he believed Max still had a chance. He couldn't let everything end like this. Alex decided he would not let Max go in pain, but would do everything he could to help him feel the love and care he had for him in his final days. He knew that whether it was a miracle or not, his love and persistence would be all Max needed. Even though the vet said there was no hope, Alex could not accept it. He didn't want to see Max go in pain and loneliness. Every day, he spent all his time caring for his poor dog. He knew Max's health was too fragile, but he couldn't let him live his final days in fear and despair. Alex started to change Max's routine, preparing special nutritious meals for him, as the vet had recommended. These meals not only helped Max physically recover, but also served as moments for Alex to express his love. He worked hard to create an environment where Max could feel safe and loved, no longer afraid of everything around him. Every morning, when the sunlight streamed through the window, Alex would take Max for a walk. Though Max was weak, Alex refused to give up. He took him through streets Max had never seen. The dog no longer moved quickly, but at least Max's eyes sparkled with hope as he looked at the world around him. Alex took Max to the beach, where the breeze was cool and the sky wide open. For the first time, Max saw the sea, and in his eyes a faint curiosity began to sparkle. The afternoons walking along the beach became a special connection between Alex and Max. Though Max couldn't run and play like other dogs, his eyes seemed to shine as he watched the sunset, like an unspoken thank you. These moments made Alex feel that he was doing the right thing, no matter how difficult it was. At night, Alex would lie next to Max, looking out the window together as the stars began to appear. Alex whispered words of encouragement, telling stories of a bright future he hoped would come. Even though Max could not respond, Alex knew that Max could feel his care and unconditional love. Day by day, Max's condition didn't change. He weakened each day. Sometimes his body was not strong enough to stand. But Alex never gave up. He continued to persist, taking Max out every day, talking to him, petting him, and caring for him. One afternoon, while they were walking along the beach, Max suddenly stopped, staring at the sunset. Alex sensed something different, as if something was changing in Max. In Alex's heart, whether or not there was hope, he still believed that a miracle could happen. As long as Max felt loved, even in his final days, he could still find joy. And Alex knew that he would never give up, no matter what happened. That morning, just like every other day, Alex woke up and went into Max's room. He felt anxious, as if he had gotten used to seeing Max lying motionless and weak every time he approached. But when he entered, something strange happened. Max was no longer lying in his usual corner. Instead, the dog was standing up, though a bit unsteady. Max's eyes, once dark and full of suspicion, now shone with a miraculous light. When Max saw Alex enter, he wagged his tail, an action Alex thought was impossible to happen again. Max looked at him, no longer with fear, but with gratitude and joy. Alex stood frozen, unable to believe his eyes. He looked at Max, his heart pounding, a mixture of joy and astonishment overwhelming him. It seemed impossible. The vet had said Max would not make it, that he had little time left. But now, Max was standing strong, his eyes shining brightly, wagging his tail with rare happiness. As Alex approached, Max walked towards him with newfound confidence. He bent down and gently stroked Max's head, feeling the warmth of the dog he had fought tirelessly to save. "You are alive, Max," Alex whispered. Max licked his hand as if to answer. In the following days, Max's health improved dramatically. Though still weak, Max began eating normally, running around the house, and his eyes were no longer weary, but full of joy. This miraculous story kept Alex in awe, unable to stop thinking about what had happened. Alex's love and perseverance had created a miracle. What seemed impossible had happened in a miraculous way. Alex had not only saved a weak dog, but had also proven that true love can change everything, even when everyone around believes there is no hope left. In the mornings, Alex and Max went for walks together, Max's legs now stronger than ever. They wandered through streets Max had never seen before, and Alex could feel the joy in the dog with every step. The story of Alex and Max spread far and wide, and everyone who heard it felt the power of love. It was not just a story about a man and a dog, but a testament to resilience, to never giving up, and to the belief that miracles can still happen, even when we think we have lost everything. From then on, Max was no longer just an ordinary dog. He became a symbol of life, of unconditional love, and of the ability to fight against adversity. Their story would forever be an inspiration to anyone facing a great challenge, showing that a heart full of perseverance and love can change everything. Thank you all for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the best stories. See you in the next one.